Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicoletta and I am a weird sister. If you have one, happy to be a second edition or third or fourth, whatever. And if you don't have one and you need one, I am here for you as well. So this month, for the month of June, we are going to talk about PTSD awareness. I've been meaning to post this, and I'm glad that this came around because I personally have PTSD. I was formally diagnosed in 2019 with PTSD. My entire life, I have had multiple traumatic events, to just put it plainly. Um, I'm not going to discuss all of them because with my PTSD, I don't want to relive it, and I don't want that to be this whole video. This is more about awareness for the situation at hand, for the diagnosis at hand, and some of the things that I've seen within it since being diagnosed in 2019. What triggered mine into a full-blown diagnosis was in 2019. I was in a car accident where another driver ran 3 stop signs in front of my car while I was in a construction zone, and it turned into a really traumatic event that sent me over the edge. I still have physical scars from it, and I have gotten over mental and emotional scars as well. It did change my life for a little bit, and I had to pivot. But that again is not this video. Just to tell you though, that's where I come from in my diagnosis. So when I say these things and I speak about these things and I say this is what I have seen thus far and to raise awareness, you know I come from a grounded point. PTSD and what I have seen with it since my diagnosis, formally, people tend to misconstrue it. And this isn't uncommon because it's also done with depression and anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, a number of other mental illnesses. People will say, oh, I had PTSD from doing that hike, or, being around that person gives me PTSD, and it could just be an off-kilter person, and just their presence makes somebody uncomfortable, and they'll say, oh, that gives me PTSD. No, I promise you it doesn't. Because PTSD is a whole diagnosis. It isn't just a feeling, it isn't just a state of mind, it's a whole diagnosis. You have flashbacks, you have nightmares that you can't control. Sometimes they're about the event at hand. Sometimes you'll have a nightmare where it's not even about the situation at hand, and your brain will just somehow flip, and boom, you'll be back to where you were in some other traumatic event. It's negative emotions, distorted negative emotions and beliefs. It's, constantly questioning yourself and hypervigilance. It's issues with memory and memory loss. There's a number of things that go into PTSD and the way that it is as a whole diagnosis. And when people categorize it as an emotion or as a feeling, that is honestly really disrespectful and wrong to everybody that actually has it. And I genuinely hope that you never have a traumatic event that triggers you to have PTSD or causes you to have PTSD, or to have to do the years of EMDR that I had to do to get myself to this level to where I'm actually able to be sane and functioning and talking on YouTube. I hope that you never have to have a way to cope with TMJ in your jaw because you have nightmares and you have issues at night and it affects you in your sleep like I have and like other people have with PTSD. I genuinely hope that you don't have issues with memory loss and can't really concentrate, and you don't have the ability to not be able to concentrate because you're constantly thinking about your trauma, and your mind is taking this emotion and this situation that you were dealing with, this whole host of emotions really, and the situation you were dealing with, and it goes, I can't put this somewhere. So it just constantly keeps replaying it in your head. And when I was formally diagnosed in 2019, not but like, I want to say 6 months after the event, and going through therapy and my formal diagnosis, I was sitting at work one day, and there was a line for catering. We had a catered lunch at work, and this coworker that I had not yet met, she was new, I was new, she was standing in line, and I was about 10-15 feet away from her, and I was just enjoying my day, just having a good day, happy we had catered lunch. If you've ever worked in corporate America, you know what it's like to have nice catered lunch. And I hear her off to the side say to somebody, oh, those reports gave me PTSD. And I'm sitting there as somebody literally grappling with it, literally trying to deal with it, literally just formally diagnosed, not but 6 months prior. And I have to hear her say and laugh about, oh, those reports gave me PTSD. Or you'll hear someone else offhandedly say, oh, that experience gave me PTSD, and laugh it off. It's not a laughing matter. It's a very real thing. And the people that have it and the people around them that help the people that have it, they deal with a lot with that person. And it's a whole lifestyle change. It's a whole situation where you're no longer yourself anymore. You have to constantly try and figure out how the day is going to go. What will the day bring me today? It's hard. It's not easy to go through. And whether you have PTSD from combat or you have PTSD from a terrible experience or situation that you were in, it's real regardless. It doesn't categorize itself to just one type of person. It is a real diagnosis that affects people on a grand scale than what is really observed in today's world. So I wanted my first video to be that when you talk about mental illnesses like PTSD, and you talk about these diagnoses like this, don't talk about it in a way that is offhanded or as if it's something to laugh off. Because I guarantee you, myself and other people, we are not laughing. We're not laughing. We're dealing with a lot more than you could probably deal with. And I'm lucky that you're lucky that you don't have it. And, I'm lucky enough to have gotten through most of it and to be able to talk on this channel about it. And it's taken a lot for me to talk about it on this channel. But I'm not going to let people continue to talk about it in a way where it gets just fluffed off. It's not a laughing matter, and it's not meant to be fluffed off. Much like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, all of those, which aren't the topic for this month, but certainly have the same level of disregard and disrespect to people when people talk about those. They're mental illnesses, they're diagnoses. It's not something for you to laugh off. So there is that. Now, with the way that I see how we should be talking about it, and what I think would probably be best in how we talk about it going forward, is if somebody says that they have PTSD and you don't know what that means, and you think it's just a bunch of emotions, or they're really traumatized by something, that is only, and I mean the very tip of the iceberg for that person if they have PTSD. There is a whole host of emotions and feelings, behaviors, patterns, habits that are going into them having a formal diagnosis of PTSD. And if somebody has C-PTSD, that's complex PTSD, that means that they've dealt with repeated trauma throughout their lives, or a constant recurrence of a same event, like, say, abuse of any nature, or any other kind of situation, such as combat, and they have C-PTSD as a result of it, around one central thing or varying things. That's usually how it's characterized in the DSM-5, and in most research you will find. That person has more than just a traumatizing event. That person is dealing with more than just a lot. It's more than just a mental health day, you know? So if you're trying to understand what that means, I would say, and this is just generally being a good human being, to just say, how can I help you? What can I do? You know? Or just try and be supportive and just let them talk if they can, if they want to. Don't try and force them to. That's the other thing. That's the other thing I found with PTSD is people will try and make you talk about things. Or you'll have other people that are traumatized, maybe from a similar circumstance, that will try and do what's called trauma bonding, where they'll try and get you to talk about your situation and then bring up their situation and then try and bond with you over that one thing. And that becomes your relationship. That puts the person with PTSD that is formally diagnosed at a disadvantage and more likely for flare-ups and flashbacks and all kinds of things. I have found personally and from doing some reading to clarify that I'm actually not crazy, that it actually is a valid way to respond to that kind of thing. It's not good to do that, to trauma bond. And if you think, well, I went through a traumatizing event, you know, I'm going to go and try and talk to them about that. They're formally diagnosed with PTSD, then we can bond on it together. No, don't do it. It never ends well. It never ends well. I would not recommend it. And it makes, again, the person with PTSD resentful of you, constantly going through triggers, constantly going through flashbacks, issues with memory loss and concentration, and issues with just trying to function. Because you are now making their brain, if they're in therapy and they've already characterized that trauma, or they're working on it, have to constantly relive and pull back that memory back to where they put it back away. And is that fair? And is that a good friendship? Or any kind of relationship? No, it's not. It's not. And as somebody with PTSD, I've seen a lot of these things over and over again with family, with friends, with coworkers, just about anybody. And it's hard. It's hard to have to explain, this is what I have, and this is how I'm healing from it, and this is what's working for me, and having people pull you back down to their level. It takes a very strong person to continue to get out of that and go forward. And it takes a very strong person to realize what they have and know what they have and work on it and try and change it and fix it to the best of your ability. So when you say something gave you PTSD, or the next time you think it's going to come from your skull to your mouth, think about how that is a real diagnosis. There are real people that deal with it. There are real situations around it. And it is not something to just laugh off or stereotype. It's a very real thing. And that's all I have to say on this portion of this series. Thanks for watching.